So we're gonna have live, and I will be with Anka Trifan. She is the CEO, the founder, and creator of three fan events. I'm so excited to talk with this lady. She's a busy woman. There she is. She's here. She's about to start to join me. Ah, there we go. How are you?
Awesome. Very good. Thank you for inviting me to join your live.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, I'm
And
changing my filters over here because obviously
I
I
can
just realized
see,
I have filters.
yeah, you
I'm like,
can.
stop it. Okay, maybe I'll just go to the normal one. Where was that? Like, I'm totally lost now. Sorry, I am so easily distracted by all the buttons.
No worries, no worries. So tell me, first of all, before we start like with your introduction, could you tell me where you're talking from? I know you're not, I'm in London, but are you not in UK, right?
I am not in UK. I'm not even on that side of the world. I am in US. Of all the places in US that I could be from, I'm on the West Coast in Boise, Idaho, which for anyone that's not familiar with the US, because it's
No.
quite large, is sort of like in between Oregon and Utah and California. So if you know
Okay.
that side of the
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest.
Yes, I know. I never heard about you where you specific are, but Utah, I know this name. Yes.
Yeah,
I've
so it's
never.
right above Utah, the state, and then right between, Oregon and Utah on that side of the country. Yeah. But
Fantastic.
originally, I call myself European because originally I am from Romania and I have actually
Okay.
quite an extended family in Europe and in multiple countries. England is one of them, and then Austria and Italy and Spain and let's see, Romania,
Everywhere.
obviously. I'm pretty sure I'm missing some countries right now, but yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So you're from Romania. So what made you to move to USA?
Well, it's a long story, but if we've got time, and we might as well. What are we going to talk
Sure.
about, right?
Oh, how long you been there?
I've been in US for almost 20 years now. So when
Wow.
I finished college, I just wanted a different opportunity for myself. I wanted to pursue a very technical field, which at the time in Romania was just not available. Even now, it's a little, tricky to get into as a woman. So I just wanted something else for myself. I had this dream of moving to US since I remember, I think I was 11. I had the Statue of Liberty like as a picture, like a postcard or something, and it was glued onto my um, just on my furniture in my room, talking about vision
Wow.
boards, right? And I remember just keeping that, as a reminder of one day I want to see the Statue of Liberty. One day I want to live there. I don't know how that was going to look like. I don't know if that was even possible. Because first off, at the
That's
time to
amazing.
move to a country like US, you needed a visa, you needed lots of money, you
Love
needed to, be able to afford to make such a life change lifestyle, right? So yeah, so that was my main driver, and then there's a few different things that sort of like personally that happened around that time, and I was ready to I worked really hard to I think I needed like $650 to get on the plane to buy me some the tickets, and that was a lot of money at the time
Right.
in Romanian money. That was like I think a couple of years worth of
Wow.
income, So yeah,
Mhm.
it was,
Well
and
done.
all I had was $100 extra like pocket money. And I'm like, well, I'm going to get there and then we're going to see what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
And now there you are, three fun events. You are a business owner, and that's amazing. So tell us a bit there we go. You already told me about your moving from Romania to USA, but about your entrepreneurial story. How did you
hmm
become a CEO and the founder of Three Fun Events? Or what is,
uh,
let's say, Anka, let's
let's,
say for people understands, before we talk about how did you become, what about if
Yeah.
we start, and what is Trifun? Trifun? That's the right
Yep.
name, right? Trifun
Yeah.
Events. Yeah.
So Trifun Events is basically a boutique event planning and production agency that is offering event planning, experience design, production management for live, virtual, and hybrid events. And that's basically the short, description of what happens here. And there's a lot of things that you can, put into that little tiny description. But for the sake of, staying on topic, that's basically what Trifun Events is. Now, my background is that of a certified event professional and also technical event producer. I've worked as a sound engineer for many years, for concerts, for corporate events, for nonprofit events. And I've always had this desire, kind of like a muted desire, as I was working for a lot of production houses, a lot of other people, to start my own company, to have my own thing. But because, again, I feel like as a woman into a very technical field and into a very small niche that, which is a AV technical production for events that's mostly male dominated, I also was very insecure that I would be ready to be on my own, basically, to literally unplug from, all the support that I had at the time for the longest time, and just go after events on my own, and then figure out how I'm going to turn those people into clients, and how I'm going to then, plan their events and then execute those events, right? So I think it was a combination of a few different things that finally elevated my confidence that, yes, I can take onto this new journey, new chapter in my life. It's about time. I've done enough work for other people, and now it's time to actually do this for myself, as, the dream that I always wanted. And so for a little while, I was actually doing this in parallel while I started working on my branding and on my company, and then I'm still working for a few other companies, so I can still pay my bills, but also support the dream that I wanted to get into, which was creating this brand, which I realized that for me to be able to be visible and even, attract the right kind of client, I needed to be the brand. I needed to create something around it that Trifun Events means something to someone when they actually, when they go and check it out on social or on my webpage. So that was a journey because, again, at the time, I still needed to make money. I still needed to fund the dream, right? But at the same time, I was working tirelessly just to create that vision, to make it into reality. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically the genesis. Yeah.
How long you been, how long you got Trifun Events running?
So as a incorporated, like as a company, registered company, on paper, I think it's 2016. As a dream, it started in 2013. So wow. Like as in like full on, I'm really gonna start like, feeding that, because I need to create this, again, brand that represents what I want to do in the future. And I remember at one point I was so passionate about doing that I had to have some discussions with the people I was working for, that because, again, it started to become a little bit of a conflict of interest, and we need to have a honest discussion. Okay, what is it that I see that you've got, a dream. We want to support that, but we have to set boundaries, and I think that's important for a lot of the things that sometimes we do, especially if you're in a field that somewhat it could become competition to you directly, or maybe to some of the whatever pursuits that you have. You have to have some boundaries. You have to have some conversations, because at the end of the day, I'm still very good friends with all the people that I work with,
Really
with
good.
maybe one exception. But I'm still very much, collaborating and
Right.
working with these people. Like I have those connections, and even now, like I would actually need I would reach out to them for support for certain events that I do that need additional support. And those are my go-to people, the ones that I work for, the ones that I help to build their own company, because they in return helped me, right? So
Yeah.
it's almost like a symbiotic
It's like
relationship.
we never disconnect. There we go. If we do a good work together, we're never going to disconnect. We're going to be connected forever, I think, because when it's a good relationship, it becomes for life. Even
Yeah, absolutely.
if we don't check everyone every day or every week, but we know that we are there for each other, and that's really powerful.
Yeah,
So
and as
I
an agency, I need this type of partnership. So
yeah,
to me, it's very
that's right.
important not to burn bridges.
And how so you do you work right now? You are a business owner that works full time for your own for yourself, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
that's right.
powerful.
It
My
is. It's
kind of
also,
sister.
I know, but sometimes I'm thinking I'm also the worst boss that I've ever had, the most demanding boss I've ever had, because I mean, when you work for yourself, you know that that is what's going to feed you, and you have a different drive, you have a different commitment, you have a different intent, right? And a different passion that drives all those decisions, but also drives the hours that sometimes you can just find yourself just doing and doing and doing. And many
Yeah,
times I have to stop myself and allow myself to rest or take a moment of, okay, right now, I've done, enough. I need to
yeah.
close off
We
my
need
computer, run away from my office. Even if my office is in the same, house right now, I need to close it off and just separate myself, because it can be so easy now, especially during COVID. It's been a challenge. And I know a lot of business owners have actually
yes.
had this challenge where you don't have a separation anymore between office and home. And that's
That's so true.
not good for your family. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for um, even for your business, because if you're going to be just constantly giving but never stopping to actually refresh and
I love this.
recharge,
Yeah, so right.
I mean, you can only give so much, right? So for me, that's been a challenge, because I can be the kind of person that I literally have to put lunch as a line item in my calendar. Otherwise, I forget to go and
Really?
eat, which is like just walking 3 steps into my kitchen. I forget to eat. If I could remove all the bathroom breaks out of my day, I would totally do that, just so I have more time. Fortunately,
This
I
is
did not figure that one out.
Anka, this is a really good point that you brought up because a lot of people suffer with the same problem. I do call this self-discipline, and it's something that I use in myself, and it works. I don't need to put my lunch on my diary, but I totally understand what you mean. But because I just think by myself, like, I need to eat. Oh, I need to move. I need to do something. I need to stand up because otherwise I can go for a long time. I can do as well, but I have this discipline when it comes to release myself. I need to do something away from my work because
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons as well we do this is because we love what we do, right? So we are so passionate about it. So nothing can take me away. I can spend every
Yeah.
single day working in my office with
18 hours, if you really wanted to, but then is that really helpful in the long term, right? Like,
yeah,
is that going to
that's right.
help you, especially knowing that you can only burn the candle at both ends for so long, right?
That's right. But one thing I normally say to business owners or startups at the beginning is fine for you to go 100,000 an hour. But then after a certain time, you need to slow down. You need to take your priorities. You need to analyze what exactly do you want. And if it's necessary to stay long hours working on your business, when you should be doing exercise, you should be eating, make things regular, like on your diet, like your discipline in talks in terms of going to the bathroom, going to the kitchen, eat something, exercise, go for a walk, Go to your living, especially like you said, like you mentioned, during the COVID, we work all from home. I'm working from home all the time, and it would be very crazy if I don't have this discipline on me to just
Yeah,
stand up and move away from my work. But
yeah,
I do. Is someone
yeah.
here asking? Oops, someone asked me the question. Let me see.
Yes.
Ah, okay,
I
I
think
know who mentioned.
she was reinforcing the question that we raised, that is that helpful in the long run? Because obviously it's not if you're going to keep pushing in the same direction. One thing that has helped me honestly tremendously, especially during COVID, because again, we are kind of, I don't know how much of the situation that you were facing where each one of you are in, but I know everybody's had, you know, a hard time being stuck indoors and not being able to leave the house, especially during when we had the restrictions to
Pandemic.
yeah, but just to stay indoors, like the confinement. And right now, I feel like it's a little more open, although nobody knows anymore because we're going back to like masks and all the things, which is totally impacting the event. And that's a completely different conversation and topic. However, what I was going to say is one thing that I remember when we were indoors and we couldn't leave the house for a while. Exercising has been like my go-to support system for just mentally to keep myself in check, but also fit, you know, like physically fit. And I know there's people that have gone either way, like they either got like in the best shape of their life during COVID, or they went completely the opposite, where it's like, okay, couch potato all the way, right? For me, it was
Yeah,
completely like best shape of my life. And right now, I can say, like, you know what? At least that's my silver lining. Besides actually getting to meet a lot of cool people, because another, you know, silver lining out of what we went through was the fact that now I found myself needing to reach out for support, reach out for networking. And yes, everybody's complaining about Zoom fatigue, but I've met so many extraordinary people in during
yeah,
this time, and just the fact
yeah,
that I met you and I met a lot of other like-minded event professionals and business owners and entrepreneurs that were struggling with the same similar things, and we were able to connect in a way that before, honestly, if I would have just gone to maybe an in-person event or just anywhere for that
yeah,
matter, I would have never connected because I just never put enough time or importance on that because I was forced to now. And then out of the necessity, it birthed so many new relationships and connections.
yeah,
And
yeah,
with that, also the fact that now I'm like a gym freak and I'm going to the gym every morning. That's my start routine. Like I gotta have my workout in, and then everything else, you know, can fit in pieces and places. And yes,
yeah,
even my lunch breaks, you know, when I get to take them, sometimes it's like 5 p.m. I was laughing because my husband, he's like, you do realize that you don't have a sense of when you're hungry, only when you're starving. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, like you're not hungry until you're starving. Like you get to the point where like you're no longer hungry, you're hangry and you're in starvation mode. And it's like, you're right. Like I didn't even realize that about myself, you know, because many times I get to 5 p.m. and this is when I'm like, oh my gosh, it just hit me like a train, right? It's like,
yeah,
I am so hungry, I'm going to die.
yeah, yeah. And now let's go back to your three fun events. What means hybrid events?
Hybrid events, what does that? That's a fantastic question. It's one question that has been answered a million different ways and a million different times. To be honest, if you're like, especially if you're in the event world, I host a podcast called Events Demystified, and for the last 18 months, I mean, that's all we talked about. You know, virtual events, hybrid events. How do we make them happen? What's the strategy behind it? What's the how? What's the how to? What's the why? Like the whole gamut of questions. A hybrid event, in most definitions, the way it's looked at is an event that happens both in person and digital and virtual, right? So you would have two different audiences where you cater to their needs separately, because for example, say you have an in-person event of about 50 to 200. I mean, if you want to go crazy, go to 500 people, although nowadays, you know, with all the restrictions with COVID and social distancing and everything,
Right.
there's a lot more smaller events happening than there's like larger events like we were used to in the past. So that small event now, say in the past used to have 1,000 in-person attendees, right? Now,
Right.
if you're going to limit that to be a 200 in person, you have to somehow also cater to all the people that maybe they wanted to join, but they couldn't, to maybe they actually never wanted to join, but they would still be interested in the event, or 3, they're just feeling unsafe to join, even
Right.
though they might have the desire to, because for many reasons, people are not yet feeling fully safe to join a gathering of so many people in person, right? So then the solution to that was the virtual element of the event. But all of this has to happen smoothly. All of this has to happen fluidly, and it has to happen seamlessly, so that the integration of the experiences that this audience that's in person with this audience that is digital can happen in a way that benefits both audiences. So there's a lot of strategy, a lot of talking, a lot of thinking, a lot of solutions, a lot of
Wow.
challenges that go behind what that might look like. And there's many events that do it really well. There's many events that have failed to do it well. There's events that are they're challenging themselves to try and do it well, and sometimes it doesn't work out. So there's all kinds of like levels of what a hybrid event could look like. And that's a good thing, also a bad thing. Like there is not necessarily a all across the board, this is the formula and this is the solution for all the events, right? And it depends a lot on your audience. It depends a lot on your budget. It depends a lot on, location. It depends on so many the technology that you're using, the platforms that you're using, all the tools that will will break that event,
Okay, because one of the pictures when I went to your website and I was checking, one of your pictures is full of screens. It's like someone is on on TV, and I'm like, what exactly they do? Because
So that's my mission control when I actually produce virtual events. So a lot of the virtual events that I've done the last 18 months, and it's been a lot of them, and virtual conferences and virtual fundraising galas have originated mission control from my office, from here, right here where I'm at. I'm like, even now I'm actually running after this into doing several tests for 2 conferences coming up, which are virtual conferences. They were supposed to be in person, but now, with the newest changes because of Delta variant, we had to pivot them back to virtual. And there's a lot of streaming that happens, a lot of content that gets created, a lot of run of shows and production schedules and conversations and meetings upon meetings and tests. And all of that has to happen in order to have a successful event. And I feel like with virtual events, more than ever, needing to properly test, needing to make sure that your presenters, especially if they're joining virtually, are tech checked and they're ready to join in live, and they have the proper equipment and they have the understanding of what is required of them. You'd be surprised how many conferences I've done where you would have, the best of intentions, and yet still you'd see someone coming in from their kitchen with like their wife in the background cooking in pots and like almost like banging on pots as they're presenting their presentation. You're like, what have we discussed? Why is this happening? I can't even stop this right now. We're just gonna have to run with it. And then also the liability of not understanding how sometimes you rely so heavily on your broadband, because now we all have to, right? But I remember we were streaming an event, and in the middle of the event, some of the servers somewhere in Midwest, like Vimeo servers, because we were streaming to Vimeo, they just crashed and burned. And that affected a whole lot of events, including our events. And then, in the background, trying to troubleshoot, sometimes 2 minutes of troubleshooting during the virtual event in the background feels like 50 minutes in real life. It feels like a lifetime, because you know there's a lot of people frustrated on the other side, like trying to join and the link's not working and their internet is crashing and whatever. They're not seeing what they're supposed to see, and you're trying to get the stream back up, and 1 minute feels like forever because there's just so much,
Wow.
pressure to get
That's
it back
a lot.
online.
Sounds like a lot of pressure because you need to make sure everything is right working. And if something
Yeah.
misses, wow, is crazy. But well done. Once again, I don't know how you deal with all these things around, because you said it's just in front of you, like where you are right now is where you work. And
Yep.
I was amazed by the many screens I could see, because the picture is like on
Let
the
me see.
side, but
Like, I
is
think I
on,
have, like, you can't
yeah.
even see, but basically I'm like
Yeah.
one of those person with like 1 million screens everywhere. Yeah,
Wow.
that would be me.
Wow.
But it's
What?
fun. I mean, I've always loved technology. I've always dwelled into technology, and
That's
for
really
me,
good.
even when this happened, the pandemic, we all a lot of us got shocked, right? And got like, oh my gosh, are we still going to be in business? For me, when this happened in March of 2020, it was a very fluid transfer of all my skills, in-person production for events, to a virtual, technology heavy type of operations, because things needed to change, things needed to adapt. In the beginning, we pivoted, right? Like everybody was using and overusing that word, but then eventually you needed to adapt into a new format, into a new way of doing business, and not just survive but thrive, hopefully. So I think there's a lot of good things that have happened during the last 18 months. There's a lot of obviously loss that has happened, which I could have easily done without, we could all have done without. But if there's a silver lining, I feel like one of the biggest things for me was the fact that it opened some networking opportunities with a lot of like-minded individuals like me, and
Yeah.
owners, business owners, entrepreneurs again, and in the meeting industry, that I would have never taken advantage of otherwise. Never,
Yeah.
not even would have crossed my mind to reach out at the same level, with the same intent, and with the same consideration and conviction that yes, we need to support each other. Yes, we can make it through, and we'll make it through. And here we are again, faced with a few other challenges in 2021, fall of 2020, especially when it comes to the events. But I still think, that even though we're maybe more tired, more fatigued, more frustrated than ever, we can still make it to the end of the year, and then we'll see what 2022 brings.
Yeah, that's right. And how is your business in terms of the events? Are you running events like before, or is it more slow, or still slow due to the pandemic?
Well, I feel like there's been quite a few ups and downs just because of the unknown. Like if you asked me this question back in June, we were going full steam to full-fledged in-person events by fall's time, which would be now. And by August, we were literally had like a couple of weeks to change everything back to virtual. And that had to happen like right away. And a lot of the strategy meetings that have happened in August needed to happen, because a lot of the events that were going to be all in person, they never considered. A lot of them have not, at least. Some of them have had the back of mind, kind of like, oh my gosh, but what if, but a lot of them, they're like, yeah, we're done, we're going to have our vaccines, everybody's going to be safe, we're just going to get in person and life can return to normal. Well, not so fast, because obviously, as we've learned, we're dealing with the different challenges now. And even though, yes, a lot of us are vaccinated, a lot of us, are in a position to be able to join and gather again, not everybody feels safe. Not everybody feels ready. Not everybody is even, dealing with the same type of health issues that other people are. So we're back to trying to figure out now where most of the events are technically either postponed
Right.
to a later date, say spring of 2022, because on the hope that by then, we'll have, some sort of a deep into the numbers that have started, to raise up again. And then we'll be back to business as usual. The ones that have not postponed or that have not canceled, because yes, some events have also canceled. They have gone back to virtual. And some of those, they're like, okay, but again, I feel like sometimes virtual becomes this last thought strategy. And that's where you can get into a lot of problem, or you don't benefit from a virtual event fully because you're always going to make it as your last resort. And if you look at it as your last resort, then you're not going to put the same intent, the same conviction, and the same time into making it be an extraordinary experience. And if that's how your virtual event is going to end up being, then you're always going to look at it as like, we're over virtual events. They're just like not our thing, right? And where, if you look at it with a little bit from the get-go with like, that's the strategy moving forward, or even having that virtual element part of your in-person event to become the hybrid that we talked about, then you'd have a different intent behind all the strategy, and your KPIs would be different, and all the efforts that you put into it then would pay a different dividend at the end,
It's very different because these days after pandemic, when I look to someone that invites me to a personal event, I think, I'd rather to have a virtual because I'm so used to now. I'm serious. I still on the mood of staying on virtual, but I want to go on personal events, but like on real with people around and listen the vibe and feel the vibe inside of the area. That is completely different. But I do understand why people is postponing like their events and they still on the standby, because there we go. We're still living this thing. This thing it hasn't finished, so
no,
we don't know what's coming.
And we don't know when. Yeah. But what you just said, Yola, that's so funny because it's a sentiment that a lot of people can relate to. I personally know that just last week, there was a in-person gala that I kind of wanted to go to. I wanted to join, but there's just like a conflict of schedules, and I just couldn't be in two places at once. So obviously, the gala had to go, and so I needed to tend to other things that were more urgent. But I felt exactly the same way. I'm like, okay, now that I'm done tending to my things and I didn't need to leave the house, I didn't need to get ready, I didn't need to like step into my car, drive away to the event, I wish I could still partake. I literally felt FOMO from not being there. And I'm like, why couldn't they stream the event? So at least I can partake into a small part of it. Like, I couldn't be there in person. I couldn't be enjoying the meal. I couldn't be doing the networking. And I wasn't going to do all of that. But I still wanted to partake a little bit in the event because it was something that, again, I had an interest in. And the fact that I didn't offer the streaming option, it was so disappointing, because I'm sure there were more people that were feeling the same way like me, because you can only fit so many people in person, or you only have so many people that are going to come. But I think a lot of event organizers, what they're facing with is with this fear that if they do open up the virtual, right, they're going to basically, kill their in-person attendance. So in a way, they're like, well, by scarcity, I'm forcing you to come because, we have all these expenses now that are connected to the in-person event and all the meals that we needed to pay for and all of it. But at the same time, to me, it's like, but you're also excluding people by doing that, because like, think about a accessibility parking spot in front of a building. Would you take away from those spots because you want to make more VIP, whatever parking spots for your biggest, sponsors, donors, whatever, who your people are, or you still leave those spots because it has to be, it's an accessibility parking spot you need to offer. The same way with virtual events, you have to offer that as an accessibility way to tend to an audience that they might want to be in person, but they might most likely not, but you still have to offer them that option, right? You can't just say, no, I'm not going to because I want you to do what I want you to do. Because then you're not serving your audience. You're not serving,
No,
you know, the
yeah.
event.
I do agree with you because there we go. It's because what we lived, what we've been going through. So should be two options, two ways. Even if you pay for the full ticket, but the option
Exactly.
for the virtual
Exactly.
should be available. I just
Yeah.
now while we were talking, I was just wondering, would you be able to create this conversation stream to another platforms? Is that easy? Do you know how to do that?
Here from Instagram, not from Instagram. I normally, when I do, for example, when I go live for my podcast or any other really event that I do that I host, I usually use a different virtual studio. I like to use StreamYard just because it has a lot of branding. Instagram has been very tricky to stream into and stream out of because they're really, you know, their API is super tight and crazy. And I know actually I knew of one platform that tried and attempted, and they're still trying to do it. It's called LivePigeon. I worked a little bit with them. It's an application that you can use to stream, for example, like you would to Instagram, only from a different studio. Like you can even stream pre-recorded video if you wanted to, like you were live. And then you can stream live video like we're doing right now, but then not just the destination. It wouldn't be just Instagram. You can also do it where it's a multi-destination. So you can stream the same video to Instagram Live, to Facebook Live, to maybe LinkedIn Live, YouTube, you know, whatever. So that way you have like more like, you know, again, reach with doing a multi-streaming. But out of Instagram itself, from Instagram,
no.
Yeah. Good luck.
It's quite hard because I think there we go. We should have an option to go and stream this to everywhere.
But they don't want to.
Yeah,
but they don't want to. They have their own interest. Yeah.
Yes, right. So one thing, what could you say? How I can make this question? What are the common tech challenges with hybrid within hybrid? What would you say?
That's an excellent question. It could also take an hour or two to dissect into. But just at the top level, I would say some of the considerations to be taken into account, because they're part of the tech challenges that you are going to face with hybrid events, is this idea that because it's it's an event that is set to cater to two separate audiences, where one of the audiences is in person and the other one is virtual. It will take two different teams. It will take a different production team, a different technology team. It will take a different type of strategy behind how do we connect those two audiences, what type of platform we need to, and then it's a consideration of budget as well, because the moment you start, because you're looking at the virtual audience meeting on a platform like the virtual venue, right? If they're going to be somewhere, you need to gather them somewhere, right? And in order to give them that type of interaction, right? Like just sending them to YouTube and ask them to, chat over on the side and make connections. That's the least you can do with a hybrid event, right? That's not necessarily giving people the opportunity to meet one-on-one, to maybe find out more about, say, Yola joined the event on YouTube and was chatting away, but there's no information around, like what's your profile, what's your link, what's your about section, just a little bit of a highlight, which is what the platform will give you, because it kind of gives you like a whole persona, like your business card is there on display. And now I have to do I need to go and Google Yola to see what exactly is she up to, because I kind of like her comments in the chat, but who is Yola? I don't know her. I want to learn more about her, right? So it takes extra steps for someone that's interested to go maybe on LinkedIn, check it out, or find out more, right? But if you offer them a platform, then you're able to give basically everyone the opportunity to just connect with, say, Anka. Oh, I see Anka saying a few things. I think I'm curious to learn about, more what else she has to say about this or that. And you go on her profile and you're like, oh, okay, I see what she's doing. Okay, let me meet with Anka one-on-one, like during the event right now. And I may say yes, I may say no, who knows? Sometimes you have the time, sometimes you don't. But that's how connections are formed. And then having the opportunity for engagement, for maybe gamification, connecting with people on small breakouts, kind of like table, roundtable discussions, forums, and all that. That gives that audience online an opportunity to engage like you would if you were in person. But then say, how do you connect this in person with a virtual audience that maybe they might want to connect? That's another level of production and of technology and challenges that might have to be addressed both for the in-person and the virtual platform, because you need to make that connection two ways, all right? It's like, are we going to have maybe this segment, like this office become our, I don't know, like a virtual Zoom room, like where people can just go in and pick someone and talk to them like they would in real life, right? And all of that comes with having the right team, the right skill set, the right people, and the budget, right? Because I mean, none of that sounds free. And no, it is not. Right? So that's one of the main challenges. So then before you even get there, I think the biggest question to ask is it necessary to make it that complicated? Is it necessary for us to expand that far, that deep into it? How can we create this engagement, and what options do we have at the level that we're at, like at our budget level? Because this is one of the biggest things for smaller events, smaller organizations, smaller nonprofits maybe. How do we still get the benefit of the reach that a virtual event gives us, but without having to spend, thousands upon thousands of dollars to just get us there. Right. So lots of challenges. Obviously, there is a lot of conversations that have to be had, and then a lot of choices that will have to be made, because not everything is for every event, and not everything is going to serve you well in the long term.
Right. Very good explanation. Less than an hour.
I tried my best. I almost like had a counter over there, like looking at like with the back of my eye.
That's good. So we are about to finish because the time on Instagram will take us
yes.
from here. But I would like to ask you also, where are you apart from Instagram? If people want to connect with you, where can they find you? How they can find you?
Professionally, the best place is LinkedIn. If you go and just look Trifan Events, I have a LinkedIn page, and that's where Anka Trifan, which is my name, would be as well. And then I sometimes I joke, because really Instagram is, I have a Instagram page where it's all professional, but Instagram stories is where all the fun things happen, and that's where I go, and I have all my like behind the scenes, and bunch of my workouts are thrown in there. And like, for example, just yesterday, I went to therapy, as in gone to get another tattoo. So if you want to know the fun Anka behind the scenes, Instagram stories. If you want to connect with the actual professional page, is the Instagram page itself. But then professionally, if you have anything related to events, questions, qualifications, whatever it is that, it's something that you feel like you want to learn more, is LinkedIn. And then also check out the Events Demystified podcast, because that's where I really give a lot of tips, a lot of strategies, a lot of information out, especially as I connect with a lot of event professionals that I interview. And we have this type of conversations that just go quite deep sometimes into the strategy behind conferences, behind fundraising galas. I have a lot of nonprofit clients that I work for. So those are probably the best places, I'd say.
Fantastic. Now, while you were talking, I just thought about to ask you one more thing. Actually, I will have another question, but if someone, do you have jobs or like, let's say someone wants to work with you, how they do, or if you do that, have that, if you have that option, like for jobs, do you work with interns? Do you have open places for
Mm-hmm.
work in your company?
That's an excellent question. Honestly, because of the way I operate, I do partner with a lot of event professionals in my niche. I partner with production houses, with production AV teams. I sometimes partner with event planners that do just the event planning part of an event, so I can focus on the technology and the production side of the event. And I I am kind of like the type of person that those relationships are so important to me because they make or break an event. Should I possibly hire more help with maybe admin work,
Mm-hmm.
bookkeeping? Yes. Did I get myself to that point yet? No, because I feel like I'm very specific and particular about how I want things. Like for example, for my podcast, I do have help. I do have freelancers that work for me to help with the editing
Yeah.
and I'm a hard boss on myself as well as on others because I have high expectations. But then sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error to find the right people that connect with you and you connect with them to make sure that what you need gets done, right? So I feel like I'm always going like back and forth into finding a support, but it takes as a business owner, it does take an investment of time, and it takes an
Yeah.
investment of teaching like someone, okay, this is how I like things to be done, and creating processes so that you don't just have the expectations, but then you don't set them up for success either, right? So there's a few things that I'm, working to add on next year, but not right now. I'm not in the middle of the busy season. Like right now, I just, I'm like I need to just rely on what I have and on the connections that I have. And my biggest thing is to partner, like being able to partner for an event with
Right.
different smaller businesses. That's where my heart is, like, because again, for the longest time in my business, you do work with freelancers, you work with contractors, you work with other businesses. It's more like a B2B type of integration. And as an agency, that's really how you make those events happen, by having a support system of other partners that do something really well, and you want to bring them in to do that one thing, and then you bring somebody else in to do this other thing, right? So it's like it is not just one person does it all. It is the support of multiple people, multiple teams to create the final product, which is the event.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Anka. Thank you so much. I love it. I love it.
Thank
And
you.
on I promise is my last one. So I keep saying one more. I'm crazy. But on my, when you register for do the live with me,
Hmm.
I asked you about a promotion or freebie, and you dropped me a link. Could you tell
Hmm.
our listeners, everyone that is here, what is about that link? What is that for? What link can take them?
Was it the
Uh,
calendar link for a 20-minute free consultation? Is that what it was?
uh, no, it's 3funevents.com hybrid event services.
Okay, so that's really the services that encompass really the type of product that the agency provides for clients. But part of that page, there's actually at the top, there's a link that takes you to a 20-minute free consultation. If you needed to take advantage of that, just go to tiffanyvents.com. I don't know if you can put that link somewhere in here,
I can.
or maybe in the comments. And then I think one of the top links is like schedule a consultation, a free consultation. And then if you have specific questions related to your event specifically, then we can have a brainstorming chat about what would be best serving your event. And this has nothing to do with hiring me or not for your
Right.
event. If you just have some questions, you're like, okay, I just need to figure out what would be the best approach, or what would be the best strategy, or what, if you have any advice for my particular situation, I would just take advantage of that.
Fantastic. So this is it. Now I'm not going to have another question.
Well, it was such a pleasure to talk to you and chat about events, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I hope that even if we put this later to rewatch as on demand, I hope that if anybody's rewatching this, if they have any question, I hope they will reach out. Again, I'm always open for conversations and supporting people, especially in the business, in the event business and entrepreneurs in general. I mean, we're all struggling many times with the same things, and not talking about it or not reaching out, it makes us feel like kind of lonely. And that's not really the best strategy moving forward, because there is a support system. You just need to be able to be humble enough to reach out and ask for help when you need it. And I'm the first one to say that I don't always do that, because again, I want to do it all, but not doing it all means that you leave room for growth, and you leave room for maybe even being creative, which is so important.
That's right. Thank you so much. And Emotional Freedom is saying, thank you, ladies. Very informative. And we are glad that you enjoy. And I hope you join us again, or anytime you're going to be able to reach this video, because it's going to be recorded and saved on my page. And also, Anka, I can send you to yourself, and then you can.
Thank you.
Also
I'll repost it. Yeah.
Yeah, on your IGTV. But once again, and to everyone that joined us, thank you, and I wish you a lovely rest of the day, whatever country you are, because for you it's the morning, right? For me it's evening.
I think we're going towards lunchtime now. Like my clock is like, yeah, it's time to go eat now. My breakfast is happening at lunch.
I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna have dinner anymore. It's late. I had already, so this is cup of tea and sleep, or maybe watch a movie. But
I hope you have a wonderful evening, rest of your evening, and sweet dreams. Because it's time to actually go to sleep there. Thank you.
Thank you, and take care. And thank you, Panic Atogelania. I don't know what I know, it's Juliana. Thank you for this conversation as well, she says. Sometimes I see names. Okay. But Anka, take care, and was a pleasure, and I really enjoy our conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Braveness. And also this thing about the virtual life, like I didn't have idea how this works, but now I know a little bit more about these events and how that works, and how hard it is, this work. And well done, girl. Well done.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.